Hey folks, thanks for checking out yet another video here on G4G. Today we're talking about Marvel Avengers Alliance in the past, and also a little bit of a brief tie-in to Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux, or MAAR. So, I've said for some time now that there are members of Playdom's old coding staff that have been part of MAAR's sphere, okay? Now, I want to state something very, very clearly, and please understand this when I say this. As much as I mean it with every fiber in my body when I say, stop asking for the mobile version, this is something else I want to state super clearly for you. I'm going to speak slow and clear so the people in the cheap seats hear me. Playdom devs are not N-O-T, not yet. They are not working on MAAR whatsoever. This video is designed to give you guys something who are maybe going through coronavirus quarantine, something interesting to listen to and everything. You are not to contact these devs. You are not to ask their involvement in the project. They're not. They are here as fans. They are on the sidelines of the football game, playing the marching band. They're cheerleaders. They're fans. They are not out there taking hits. They're not out there taking a pass from the quarterback. They're not trying to sack anybody. They are as much removed from the project as you or anybody else. So please understand, leave these guys alone. This is here for information purposes only, and it is not designed for you to message somebody or be like, why did you kill the game? Don't take out your frustrations and sadness of MAA being dead on them. You have a lot of people who do videos on YouTube when they get upset at something or they're beefing with somebody and they're like, hey, I don't want my fan base like doing something about it. Don't go and harass them. I mean that 1,000 some goddamn on % here. Leave these people alone. Treat this as strictly a for fun and informative set of information over here. Let Goofy do his job coding right now. Stop by the Facebook group and watch everything from a distance. Same thing for Discord, same thing for my videos. But do not put pressure on anybody that I talk about in this video whatsoever. Leave them alone. Don't get their names in your mouth one bit. And I say that because they deserve to be protected. By them talking about it in this group, they are exposing themselves to conversations and people who may hastily want to talk to them and be like, oh, what about this? What about that? Were we going to get Doctor Strange? And, you know, what about Clea? And, like, all this other stuff. That's not what this is for. So please just think of this as one-way communication. It's like when you have access to a document and it's read-only, or you have edit access. This is strictly read-only. Okay? Good. Now that we got that out of the way, one of Playdom's former devs is in this thread where we're talking about the collect all button. Do we want individual collections? Everything like that. They're asking for some opinion on design. So this is Goofy trying to push towards beta 3 over here, and he's asking for community feedback, which, by the way, is a sign of a good developer. Okay, yes, this is absolutely a small thing. This isn't Blizzard. This isn't Bethesda that just do what they're getting paid to do. He's a community developer developing a community game for a community of people. He's not going to execute his will. He's doing what we want him to do, and he's capable of doing within the code. Remember that. So he's asking about this, and a guy who I didn't know was actually one of the Playdom devs. This wasn't a name that I immediately recognized. I knew, I think, two other people. One was a lady, and one was a different guy. I really remember their names from when we were talking about the Wub Wob device. And I said, this is Lucio's gun from Overwatch. And they admitted it, and they're like, we loved Overwatch back in 2016. When that dropped, The Office played it like crazy. We all loved it. So it is confirmed They definitely took that Wub Wob PvP gun from Lucio. You heard it here first, or maybe second or 10th, depending on how many times I mentioned it in my videos. But this wasn't a guy that I thought was one of them, but he is. So here he is talking about code. So basically, the lead of the writers division was saying, so the code wasn't the perfect Mona Lisa that, we thought it might be before it hit the market. We knew it wasn't. And there's no shame in saying that. Like, we know they had moments in their code where it was buggy and everything like that. That's certainly not dirty laundry. So the dev responded, unfortunately not. It was miracled into existence by the early offbeat Playdom devs who were fun to hang out with in real life but weren't very experienced in AS3, hacks, Ruby, or basic software engineering concepts at the time the game was written, long before I was hired by Disney Interactive. Now, aside from Ruby, I actually don't know the other language names that he mentioned there. They're not ones that I've ever encountered or seen in job postings, but I have seen Ruby. My guess is that's Ruby on Rails. If people know, let me know. I think he's just shorthand for Ruby on Rails. As one of them told me, we didn't know what we were doing, quote unquote. I give them a lot of credit for getting it done at all. The original team was working on MAA2 so hard they didn't have time to answer my questions about the code, and I had to dive through multiple layers of inheritance along with a complicated mess of message passing and several hundred magic value literals like the number 4 strewn across hundreds of files, but only the correct 4, sometimes for weeks or months. So this is interesting here. The community at large has long thought MAA2 has had some effect on MAA1. Now, a lot of people improperly thought MAA2's failure caused MAA1's failure. Again, this is something we've stated many hundreds of times. I've stated in my videos even back when it was happening. MAA2 did not cause MAA1's downfall. Neither did Marvel Avengers Alliance Tactics. None of the fringe or side jobs caused MAA1 to die. It was Disney pulling back on their licensed products. MAA1, MAA2, they were caught in the crossfire. If MAA2 never existed, MAA1 still would have gone and died. And you could see the proof of that later on when Marvel Heroes didn't last much longer afterwards. Now, granted, Dormer over there at Gazillion was a bad actor. He was a person who may have been getting caught up with employee abuse, and there may have been some sexual harassment over there and everything. Gazillion's management maybe was somebody that Disney just didn't want to work with anymore because they didn't want the loose association, like you're not a smoker but you go outside the door of your office and there's somebody smoking right there and you get a blast of smoke in your face. Likely Disney, no matter who was running Gazillion, was probably still going to pull back the license, but it certainly didn't help. So here is somebody on the inside. Finally, here's some insider information that is saying that MAA2 did have an effect on MAA1, and the community has long suspected there was probably something there to some degree where MA2 somehow affected MA1. And here is that confirmation. Now, it doesn't sound awful. It just sounds like maybe some of the people who were very well steeped in MA1's code got moved over to a different project, so those still doing MA1 code maybe had to ask more questions and do more resources. We've all heard it. We've all heard about this all the time. Like, if you're a Blizzard fan and you play World of Warcraft, you've definitely known of those moments in time where it feels like your current expansion is taking a big fat dumper because you know they're focused on the one coming down the pipe. It happens. Don't be mad at Playdom for this. This is what game coding is. How many times have you seen a game go to maintenance mode because they pull people somewhere else, or they shift people around. Oh, there's a job posting and so disappeared from Heroes of the Storm, and hey, they're now over in Diablo 4. Like, this isn't crazy talk over here, but it is finally our confirmation of the inner circle, I guess you could say. So he goes on to say, there was a really smart chick named Christina who helped me out with the code early on when I was a noob, and my buddy Caleb, I'm probably going to say has no relation to Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux Caleb. I would bet 100% on that. But mostly I was on my own. The artists, designers, producers, and testers were all, for the most part, very talented and professional by the time that I arrived. A lot of people are going to agree with almost all of that statement. The artists, designers, producers. Sometimes testers, I can imagine people listening to this video and go, testers? I don't... Look, here's a guy exposing some of the inner workings of PlateUp. I am going to do nothing with his information that I feel betrays the fact that he revealed it. If you were to say to me, are you sure that testers were as great as he says he is? I would probably give you the side eye a little bit and say, yeah, I wonder. However, they get crapped on so much at any game, anytime there's a bug. It's like, did they ever test this game? I mean, I just heard my girlfriend yesterday talking to somebody while playing Destiny 2, talking about the current raid in Blizzard right now, and with World of Warcraft, Nyalotha, and saying, you know, it's like, you wonder if they test these things over there because this, that, and the other thing. It's testing when you're inside a company. You are thinking about it from the inside, and you think about it within the world that you know you're testing within. So somebody's assigned to test combat or debuffs or buffs or the UI or something. You're not always seeing the gestalt of it, the overall giant picture. We as players do, because we experience every single portion of the game for the most part. You could have somebody who is not PvP or somebody who's not PvE, but that aside, we're clicking on the PvP stuff. We're clicking on the PvE stuff. We know all the metas. We know who is meta in PvE. We are coming up with crazy combinations of characters and gear. We were maybe the better beta testers because we went in as unformed clay. We weren't molded by watching your coworker do a piece of code or knowing that you're assigned to test just PvP and everything. We came up with crazy stuff. I came up with crazy stuff back then because we were free to do so. We operated without constraint. So to say that the testers definitely let a lot go isn't always 100% really the correct answer. We beat the game to shit because we were hundreds of thousands of people playing the game. They were however many staff of testers they had, 5, 10, 15, who knows. So we could sit here and say, yeah, they had plenty enough bugs that you gotta wonder what the testers were doing, and that's fair, but it's not, they shouldn't be dunked on quite that much, because we were beating the game to shit just by playing it. We weren't always necessarily trying to break the game, but sometimes it happened. Like when I discovered that free action item that gave you cosmic energy and really didn't use a lot of stamina, and you could keep using it, and knowing that if somebody did it in PvP where stamina was way higher at the time, it was before the stamina nerf, you could orchestrate it so that your agent only used that and would use it for an absolute eternity, and you would want to leave the game and take the loss. That was by accident that I discovered it, and shortly after I did, PlayDom did go and fix it. It's because they think within what everybody should do with the game. They think of how to approach testing the game with it working and doing normal valid stuff. Players are more devious. So we're going to think of a lot of the crazy shit, and we're probably going to have people out there looking to attempt to break the game. Like if you took my idea and equipped that cosmic shield thing. I forget exactly the name of it. I know the icon and I know the mission. I could find it in a heartbeat. But if you ran that in PvP and had eternal stamina, basically, and you kept using it and using it, that's just what players are compared to professional testers. So, yeah, maybe they deserve a bit of a side eye. Like, sure, they're super professional and good, but by the same time, yeah, they probably were very good at their job. We just thought differently. So, we even had a flag football team and board game nights. That's so nice to hear. That really tells you that however evil and big and corporate you thought Playdom's dev team was, he's here telling you, we're human beings. We're normal human beings. My organization works with an outside IT vendor on certain things, and I know that they do stuff like this. They have recycle events with barbecues and like outside game days where they do stuff in the parking lot. I mean, he's telling you this was like a family development staff, and it's good to hear that because we know way back in the day Blizzard was like that before the greed of Activision took over. So it's nice to hear their very human aspect of the Playdom devs. There's a lot of good and bad. I ended up doing many of the new features, preseason, PvP, comic covers, hero level expansions, so 13, 14, 15. 5th action slot, that's cool. I even slept in the office the night before the 5th action release date, cram fixing critical bugs. Does this not blow your mind, guys? Like, are you sharing in my opinion that this is such a wonderful pulling back the onion layers of Playdom staff? Because we never ever had this information between 2012 and 2016. Here we are approaching 4 years of the game being dead, and we're just learning this incredibly human stuff about the Playdom staff. And here's a guy saying he was shitting his brain over the effect of that 5th action slot, which you gotta know. Even if you're not a coder, even if you know nothing about game development or how to back end, you had to have thought at that time when the 5th action came out, man, there's gonna be some crazy shit with this. I mean, look at all the sets that were done before the 5th action. They were always 4 slots. Imagine taking a 4 set piece. Okay, let's take the Apocalypse set with the Memento Mori and the Katana. God, what else was there on that one? The whole 4 Horsemen set. I mean, that thing was, if you ran a debuff team, that thing was vicious. That sword would eventually chew people up. Knowing that it ran so heavily on debuffs and everything like that, if you took that 4 set and added the Cosmic Cube or the Weather Control Device or the Lantern to that, that's something they had to take into effect. They had to know, my God, this 4 set... I mean, it was nerfed at the time. The whole exploitation hit of the Katana was much lower at the time. But say that it wasn't. Imagine running that set and using the cube to put out those debuffs like that, and then turning around and exploiting it off of the sword for massive amounts of damage, where maybe you couldn't have set it up that nicely beforehand. It would have been, at the time that it was live, you would have had to take something out of the set to run the cube. Now you can have the set and the cube, or the Weather Control Device, or the Lantern of Doom, or any other reality hacking incredible amount of debuff things. That's what this guy had on his brain. You're hearing it, that he was like, these people are gonna wreck this. Oh my God, I gotta think of everything for this. And here's a guy telling you that he was dealing with that, and I think that's incredible. I literally feel privileged to read this whole guy's post, and it amazes me to hear this insider information on what went on in PD that we never got exposed to. So it was hard, but it was very rewarding. There were leadership challenges after my friend Dave left the dev team, but we got it done. Sadly, the undoing of the studio was already planted. Many of the original MAA devs went on to write MAA2, and not enough had changed with respect to the level of wisdom of some of those particular individuals for that game to ultimately succeed. Some of them went on to write Tactics, and same deal there. I kept some good friends from my time at Disney and like to think we all touch each other's lives in some way. Thanks for playing the game. I'm good. Yeah, that deserves a like. So here he is telling you how much things went back and forth between MAA and 2 and Tactics and everything. And then down here, he's got some pictures of what it was like to work in the Playdom team. So he's saying left to right, probably that's CJ, Vince, Art, Jamie Art, Caleb Code, Chris the producer, Daryl Code, doesn't know who that is, John, Jed. Okay, so this was the guy, Jed was the guy that I remember talking to around the time of the Lucio canon and everything. And he's saying maybe that's Tony over there, and that's an artist. Here's some more people. MAA1 and MAA2 peeps from 2015, left to right. Indu doing code. Jose Rosado 15. Oh, that's the gun. The Rosado gun. Code. Christina Code. Or maybe that's Christina. Yeah, I'm sort of getting out of order over here. Let me do this again. So Indu, Jose Rosado, maybe he's not counting the head in the back, Christina, Daryl, and Zach. Okay, we don't know who the head is over there. Next, big meeting, the entire studio meeting in the helicarrier. This, I gotta tell you, this is what it's like. There is a room at my job. We call it the World Conference Room. Our conference rooms are named after countries or regions of the world. We have in Africa, South America, and Asia. Our World Conference Room is very similar to this with a... well, actually, no, we have a VIA teleconferencing unit. But North America is like this with the ceiling projector. We have the really long table in World. You can see a lot of people doing side seating. There's that Indu that he mentioned. So here's your staff. This is what was working on your game. There's a Mac there, which is not surprising for... it's getting more popular for development work, but of course media was always very, very big on Macs. There's an Avengers logo back there. There's Thor over there. I called it the helicarrier. His last day, left to right, Ethan from MA2 and Mobile, Justin, senior producer, maybe Justin Woods? I don't know if that's what Justin Woods looks like. CJ back there, Keith. I mean, if you don't work in IT or tech, this will look alien to you, but this looks like any IT and tech related offices that you would imagine. Those chairs with the mesh back are super popular. The big status screen, the double monitors on stands, the riser desk, an office toy, quote unquote, these types of low wall cubicles. This isn't exactly open office, but to a degree it is because of the low walls instead of the high walls. And last day, Keith on design, Daryl on code, maybe CJ back there on design, Tyler is a tester, Jed is a tester, and then there's the Caleb behind there. So this is Jed, as in Jed Knowles, the guy who's in his Jedi robes. Dave's last day, left to right, Christian didn't know what he did. William, studio head. David in code. Tony, studio second in command. Christina on code. I think she's the other one that's lurking around. Foosball. Foosball's the devil, Bobby Boucher. The devil. Foosball. This is exact. I mean, I wouldn't expect those lamps, but this is kind of what I would expect from a dev studio. There's the Nerf gun, Office Donuts, and here we are back at the beginning. So it is with my absolute pleasure to, let's see what we got going on here. Seems like a fun workplace. It was 1,000%. I can never remember the name of the woman who did 99% of the interactions on Playdom's behalf on the PD forum. I was wondering if that isn't her in the blue blouse and shades. No. Indu is an engineer. She and Greg worked on the power armor suits. Okay. So, Colby, this is one of the people who worked on those power armor suits right there. Maybe you want to ask her, well, it took a year after the first one sort of semi came out, but that's cool. That's somebody who worked on the power armor. That's really neat to see that. Indu started the power armor, then Daryl finished it. It was one of the few new features I wasn't involved with, and I'm thankful for that. The support team was out of the Disney offices in California. I know who you're talking about, but I forgot her name. We never met in person. All these pictures are from Bellevue, Washington, which is not far from Apple. Bellevue is a development hotspot out there on the West Coast. I'm in what's called Silicon Valley of the East, where my area is. There's a lot of development going on over here. Epic is in town. Citrix is in town. Cisco is in town. I found out a portion of Ubisoft is actually in the area. I didn't know that until a friend of mine's last day at my job, when he said he was very, very close to getting a job at Ubisoft in the area. I was like, fuck, I didn't know they were here. It's apparently maybe an offshoot of either Ubisoft Texas or Ubisoft Montreal. But yeah, that's really cool to put people... This humanizes Playdom so much to me. To see these people, to hear these stories, I feel absolutely privileged that Greg was able to share this with us. I've protected a lot of the devs in the group. When I hear the old devs, let me walk that back a little bit. I protect a lot of the Playdom devs in the group because I don't want to expose them to people who might just start PMing them or whatever, be like, what about this, what about that, why'd you guys shut down? I just want to leave them alone and let them have their peace. But Greg kind of just blew the whole thing wide open here, and Jed was like, oh, that's me in that picture. So again, please super be respectful to everything that you see in this video on the Facebook groups, on Discord. Be respectful to not only the existing devs and Goofy and the artists and everything the writers leads, but also the people that you know now worked at Playdom and everything. Just leave them alone. Interact with them as if they are normal people. They're not creatures in a zoo for you to put the quarter in the cashew machine and throw them some cashews or pet them in the petting area. They're normal people like us, and right now, like I said, they're fans. They're fans of this project. They want us to succeed. They're not involved with it. I don't know contractually what they can or can't even do at that point. They may be under obligations to simply look from the outside of it and do nothing more. But regardless of that, just treat these people like normal people. They're not celebrities. They're not like, oh my god, it's fucking Will Smith, let me go shake Will Smith's hand and get an autograph from him. Just be cool. That's all I can really say, is just be cool and be chill with this knowledge you've got in this video. Enjoy the pictures. Come to the Facebook group and look at these pictures, experience them yourselves. Realize these were human beings that were behind the juggernaut that was Marvel Avengers Alliance. And hopefully we'll be seeing Beta 3 from Goofy pretty soon. And of course, when that's out, I'll be doing videos on that too. So take care, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed this video. This one was very fun. Thanks, folks.